Good evening and welcome to Slogging It. This is episode 12. The three of us are here delighted to be with you for another week to talk some nonsense about cricket, interview an absolutely wonderful guest and talk some more nonsense about cricket. Tonight we will cover off South Africa versus Pakistan, the fact that the Vitality Blast Royal London One Day Cup and County Championship fixtures have been announced, Big Bash final, including one James Vince, the T10, West Indies, Bangladesh, and we're not going to talk to you about England because we've just recorded a quick 20-minute summarisation of the first 4 days of the test that you will have no doubt listened to by the time you have gotten around to listening to this, and the result will already be finalised and we will talk about that tomorrow. So, gentlemen, starting off, I want to start off with what I just think is an incredible story. West Indies, Bangladesh. Myers. Day 5. Chasing a fuckload. Just going to... What, test debut? Yeah, 210 out in the fourth dig, if you don't mind. What is that?
If Carlsberg did debuts...
Big smoke.
Then the highest ever run chasing in Asia would be up there, wouldn't they? To be fair, they've had a few. Shy Hope did a thing like that a while ago, didn't he? And then they've had all of a sudden they have these guys that seem to pluck from playing nothing but the Caribbean Premier League and whatever else. And we all know, everyone knows the things with West Indies cricket and the shambles that's been the board and whatever and all the other bits and bobs that have gone off. But they've still got some very talented lads. But no, it was amazing. I mean, what's basically supposedly a West Indies B-side to go there and having more than likely never played in most of those types of conditions before. I know a lot of the big three travel around in Lions or A or whatever they want to be called, but I can't imagine the West Indies board are chucking a couple of grand at sending a West Indies A to Bangladesh.
Well, it's funny you say that, and we talked about this the other week. So obviously, they've got a couple of first-choice lads. So the first-choice wicket-keeper's there, Craig Brathwaite's there, but there aren't many of them. But one thing that we did talk about the other week when talking about this, and the fact that we were surprised that some of them decided not to go, whether they were young in their test careers or whatever, they and it's kind of quite nicely proven what our point is that, well, if these lads who go into some of the most testing conditions available to play Test cricket in anywhere in the world and do well, then these lads who've decided to stay at home for a bit, for what their reasons are valid, I'm sure, run the risk of now being saying, well, you've not been performing, lads. You know, they were talking about that top six coming over here and coming to England in the summer, and people wondering if that top six was done, and then obviously went to New Zealand, didn't do very well. You know, are these lads now sitting at home going, "Oh shit, I might not be getting back in anytime soon"?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, as Simon says, it's great to see that another T20 tournament has kicked off. A load of talent coming in. Again, you know, you watch the CPL. Most of those boys grew up there. Is it a big stage? It probably is for them. You know, there's a lot of people, there's a lot of crowds that you get into the CPL, and you get some good exposure. So yeah, I mean. But yeah, I mean, look, they have their reasons for not touring. From my perspective, the incumbent is now incumbent.
Yeah.
You know, if you've got somebody that's scoring runs and taking wickets, well, guess what? The position's mine. If you know, in order to get dropped now, I need to not perform and somebody else needs their opportunity. But, you know, I've taken my opportunity with two hands and I'm going to run with it.
How many games does 210 out on debut buy you in Bangladesh? Because, and the reason I asked that, and it is it's a bit of a pokey question on purpose, I guess, because there will be, only as Simon rightly brings up, the board in West Indian cricket isn't known for necessarily being the most honest or open organisation at times, and you know they fall out with the players every other Tuesday, but they
normally a Wednesday, I think. Actually,
yeah, sorry, my bad. But are these lads who are at home going to be saying, well, actually, no, I've been playing for years, and, you know, whether we agree with it or not, are they going to walk back in, regardless of how well these other lads have done?
I mean, it's the eternal. It's one of the conundrums that seems to roll around. Certainly, cricket the last 20 years has been who from the West Indies he's going to play, who are the board falling out with. Are they going to have some of the world's best players that are just not going to play for international cricket, or are they? Or they might play in one tournament but not the next. It's like the impossible question. You just don't know. The two teams that you'd say in the last 20 years have had the most sort of animosity are them and Pakistan. Like, when you never know what's going to go off. Pakistan, all of a sudden, 4 guys will be done for match fixing or whatever, and like, whereas the West Indies board might all of a sudden go, right, we're sacking 7 of them. What's that? We've just won a T20 tournament. Yeah, oh no, you can all go.
Yeah.
Like, you don't. I mean, would we be surprised if for the next series, not a single one of those players were playing? No.
Yeah.
Like, I genuinely wouldn't be. In fact, I think I'd probably be more surprised if they rocked up with that exact same team.
Yeah.
Because you kind of sit there and go, yeah, I understand why you're doing that. So I think it's
still what a win. What a win.
Great win.
Yeah.
Great win. Excited to get Matchell on. I know Matchell St Patrick Hewitt, who's our friend from Guerrilla Cricket and the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. So we're trying to line Matchell up to come on. He will be.
I'm really excited. I'm really excited for you to say his name to him in full go without getting it wrong.
I'm quite comfortable with that, Simon. I'll tell you what. Why don't you do it, and we'll see how that goes.
No, because we'll get onto a Rawls Hastings event again.
Yeah, racehorsing. But yeah, I mean, he will be cock a hoop about it. You know,
and rightly so. Rightly so.
100%, absolutely.
If you do something like that, something that's never been done before, like you've got every right to go right up in the air. Everything's amazing. This is brilliant.
Our mate Josh, he did all right as well. He got 40, batted really well in both innings. Got 40 odd and 20, I think. I had a text off him. I just texted him, say well done. He was like, yeah, he's gutted he didn't get the nut out, and that kind of shows what he's about. I think he fell 3 runs short or whatever. But yeah, good to see him put up a good showing for himself. Talking of Pakistan, as Simon just mentioned it there, they have again, Eugene, turn away now. They've beaten South Africa and have now leapfrogged them in the Test rankings. Pakistan up to number 5, South Africa down to number 6. Some of your big guns didn't really fire, Eugene, with the bat.
Yeah, seems to be the old adage story of South Africa's middle order just not scoring any runs. It looked really good at the end of day 4 with, again, a good amount of runs from Van der Dussen and Markram. And then, unfortunately, Faf and de Kock didn't score any runs again. I think between the two of them, they maybe scored 30, 40, maybe 50 runs between the two of them in 2 innings or 4 innings between them. But yeah, look, you can't take away from what Pakistan have done there. First Test series back in Pakistan, great win for them. Great to see cricket in Pakistan at one of the iconic stadiums. Yeah. And yeah, good luck to them. I hear, I've sort of got an inclination that Pakistan might be doing a return fixture to South Africa, taking over Australia's spot. I know there's talk of it in the media, so whether or not there's any truth, believe what you read. But that would be nice to see.
I think, you're quite right. Pakistan, it's amazing. I feel a bit sorry for the South African lads though, because I don't think anyone who's in that current squad of any of the formats that they're going to go and play out there, none of those guys will have played cricket in Pakistan before. So it's kind of a bit of a hiding to nothing for them. Obviously the top 3 have done pretty well consistently in both tests, and the other lads have struggled. But I mean, there's probably only Faf and he's probably still not been around long enough to have played in Pakistan, considering how long it has been between international fixtures over there. Yeah, so. That's interesting, and they are, very different conditions to what even UAE, I think. But yeah, it's great to see Pakistan back on the map. It's again to say a shame for their fans that they're not able to go in and witness it, but because the Pakistan fans are wonderful fans and follow their team, fantastically well all over the world. T10 Northern Warriors against the Delhi Bulls. Delhi Bulls were 81 for 9 in the final. Didn't really turn up, considering how many big guns they've got. And the Northern Warriors, who went into it very much as underdogs, came out having won the tournament, which is, I found it quite entertaining at times. It is very much hit and giggle cricket, isn't it? It's just try and blast it as far as you can. Wayne Parnell got a hat-trick and then was left out for the final. Odd choice. Look, it's an interesting tournament. I think these things are going to get bigger and bigger. Northern Warriors went on to win that. Close to home, Vitality Blast, Royal London One Day Cup and County Championship fixtures have been announced this week, which is exciting. It seems like I don't know whether the pro teams have been vaccinated, because I can't remember who it was, but there was a story in the press the other day about there was some spare vaccinations available at a doctor's surgery in one particular area, and for some reason they phoned the football club and said, we've got these spare vaccinations, do you and the lads want to come down and do it? And then apparently they all started getting death threats because this kind of story got out. So it's great that all these fixtures have been announced. Looks like they're going to look to go ahead with a full season, but I don't know how that's going to work in terms of vaccinations and stuff, because the lads certainly won't have been. It won't have been their turn on the list, unless Gareth Batty maybe.
Most coaching staff still have had them.
Yeah. Coaches can get around it. Yeah. I think there's enough time. What we've done, 12.5 million vaccinations to date. I saw something in the press today that anybody over a certain age can now voluntarily go and get it done, so you don't need to be invited anymore. But saying that, the fixtures for the T20 Blast start in June. The Royal London One Day Cup is in July. Obviously, the LV Championship, that starts, first week of April.
Yeah. It's full freezing. March on a wet one, with Darren Stevens getting 9 for again.
Yeah. Look, I think the bubbles, we're gonna go back to bubbles, and people are gonna get tested beyond belief. 20 tests a day, checking everything. If you're unfortunately test positive, you dropped. It's not going to be based on. It's not going to be based on performances. It's going to be based on who's available to play. I think.
Yeah. I think I was talking to one of the Woodstock pros the other day. He was saying that they're still being tested twice a week at the moment. So and they're still being ultra careful, which is obviously the right thing. So if you're going to go into a dressing room environment, even if you've not got the support staff of the England Test side, you've still got probably between 5 and 10 support staff with you. So therefore, including subs and what have you, there's probably 25 people at least in any one spot at any one time, and so it is vital that they kind of try and do keep a lid on it to make sure it's as safe as possible.
I suppose from my point of view, you've got to look at the way that the stadiums are busy marketing and advertising tickets to be sold. Yeah. England's got a full summer. I've seen both the Lords.
It's overflowing the English summer.
Yeah. But the Oval and Lords have both. I'm on their mailing list. Both contacted saying there's tickets available for purchase on the T20s and the. So look, it's looking positive from that point of view. Obviously, there's a lot that can happen between now and then with different things.
I was going to say that's quite interesting. Is that based on? Is that a commercial decision to do that?
Yeah.
That's nothing to do with thinking we're necessarily going to get, because they've no idea whether we're going to fulfil all the fixtures. But that's trying to protect themselves commercially.
It's them covering the backs, isn't it? Yeah. It's them saying, right, yeah, okay. Because
if we do,
all they'll say is if you bought a ticket, you can use it for this game. Or it's about, at the end of the day, last year most sort of county teams got absolutely flogged when it came to revenue and everything that was going with it. So they're now going, right, can we just try and make some money?
Yeah.
Look, you've got to plan for the positive outcome. You have to. The last thing you want is in the last week trying to sell, 10,000 tickets or whatever they're going to limit the capacity of the stadium to. You'd rather plan for the future. I know, looking at club cricket, we're doing that. I'm sure you guys too at Papawick. We're planning for a full summer. We're planning, that we're still going to do our summer camps. There's still going to be training. There's still going to be all COVID compliant and making sure that we follow the guidelines. But you've got to plan for it.
Yeah, I think
I was talking to a mate of mine who's a coach at Gloucester, and he was saying they're back in. They can only do one-on-ones, but they're back in, and every player's they're on rotors and whatever. So yeah,
I think this same pro I was talking to. I was asking him about what. So he's club captain at a county, and he was talking me through the kind of difference in revenue that not a smaller county, but a county that isn't a Lancashire or a Nottinghamshire or a Surrey or a Middlesex, or whatever. The difference in revenue that these guys generate through conferencing and test matches and whatever, and the money available to these the counties that are on the international circuit is just massive comparatively to those that don't. So right, well there we go. That is this week in cricket. Just before we go into the interview, just a quick pit on the interview. This week we've gone slightly away from cricket. We've got a cricket lover. He is someone who's played international football for Ireland. He's played Premier League cricket. He's played Championship cricket. He's played football, Premier League football. He's played League One and League Two as he was coming up. And then decided that he didn't want to do it anymore. It's an amazing story. He's gone on to do something completely different with his life. But yeah, so before we go into the interview with Jay Tabb, you will hear obviously the advert we play out for the Lord's Taverners every week. Please don't forget that to donate £3, you can text TABS11 to 70331. We know a load of you have done it so far. If you haven't, please support the charity. They're all about offering kids less advantaged than us, either physically or financially, a sporting chance in life. And for those of you that can, I would implore you, please, to give up 2/3 of a pint, especially if you live in London, to try and help these kids out. So you will next hear a note from Lord's Taverners, and then you will hear our brilliant interview we did with Jay Tabb.
The Lord's Taverners is the UK's leading youth cricket and disability sports charity. We break down barriers and empower disadvantaged and disabled young people to fulfil their potential and build life skills. Our cricket programmes support some of the most marginalised and at-risk young people in the UK, using sport and recreation to build links and encouraging groups to play sport together. We tackle issues such as knife crime, unemployment, radicalisation and also isolation, something we are all feeling right now. Last year, our programmes impacted the lives of more than 12,000 young people, and with your support will help even more in the future. Find out more and make a donation at lordstaverners.org and help us to continue our life-changing work. Thank you.
Thank you, as always, to our charity partners, the Lord's Taverners. This week, I am incredibly excited to say we have international, Premier League, Championship, League One and League Two footballer, now jockey in training, Jay Tabb joining us. Evening, Jay. How are you, mate?
Evening, John. I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Very well, mate. Very well. Thank you so much to agreeing to come on and talk to us tonight. We've got plenty to discuss with you. Football, horse racing, and obviously your current career, everything that's gone in between that, and a bit of personal mental health-based stuff too. I want to start off. I was having a look through your stats before. Like, we've known each other a few years now, and I've never ever looked at you as Jay the footballer. You've just always been Jay. But looking through your career, your football career, you literally played at every level of professional football, didn't you? League Two, League One, Championship, Premiership. Gutted that I know you were on the bench a couple of times for the full international side. You had a really good under-23s and under-21s career with Ireland, but never actually managed to get on the pitch for the full international side. Does that niggle at all post-career?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, as you said, I was very lucky. I was quite happy with the career I had and what I achieved. And I think any time you get to play in the Premiership, the highest league, it's a great achievement as well. And I was lucky enough to have a season in that. It would have been great to get a full cap for Ireland, but I was on the bench once, and it was away against Cyprus, and they lost 5-1. So I'm quite, in a way, I'm quite glad that wasn't the game that I got. But yeah, I think I had 10 under-21 caps and stuff like that. So yeah, it was a good experience, and I travelled away with the senior side a few times and got to train with all the big names there. So that was a good experience. Yeah.
How do the different levels compare in terms of, as someone who's played across all of these different levels? Is it, the most obvious one would be fitness, but are there other, is it touch? Is it what are the main kind of key differences between the different levels?
I think as you go up the leagues, there's not a huge difference. I think the top 6 or 7 teams in each league, there is a bit of a difference. But so obviously when you get promoted from the Championship to the Premiership, like the top teams there, you can tell they're head and shoulders above everyone else. But the rest are quite evenly matched, and a lot of it goes down to a bit of luck and being in the right place at the right time. But yeah, I've seen the kind of top teams, like when you play against teams like Man City, Man United, and that, everything about them is just so high class. And yeah, fitness is one of them as well.
Slightly disappointed that you said Man City before Man United there, but I'll let that slide as you're a friend.
Sorry, mate.
Completely understandable. Completely understandable. You come across as quite like a shy, unassuming type of bloke, and football seems to be a kind of world where there's very few people like that kind of make it out there and to the levels that you did. How did you go about sort of broaching that, or when you're on the football pitch, were you very different and found a way to kind of broach that masculinity?
Yeah, I suppose it was really. I just used to keep myself to myself. But yeah, I think it's kind of half and half. You get half of the players you play with or play against are what you kind of see in the media and on TV and what you'd expect, and the rest are very different and lead different lives as well. So yeah, I just used to keep my head down, and I'd never argued with the manager or answered back and stuff like that. So sometimes that stands against you, because if you get dropped and you just accept it and take it on the chin, then you become easy to leave out. So I always just get on with it and always look at it on the side of being very lucky to be doing what I was doing, rather than being hard done by just because I wasn't playing.
Who was your favourite manager? Because you played under some great managers.
It's a tough one to answer, because I was very lucky. Like every manager I played for, I got on really well with, and they all helped me out in my career in different ways. So it would be unfair to single one out, because they were all great. So yeah, I had Mick McCarthy, Chris Coleman, Ian Dowie, Steve Coppell, Martin Allen.
Wow.
Yeah, so a lot of good managers.
Some serious names there as well, isn't there?
Exactly, yeah. Steve Staunton was the Ireland manager, and he was the one who called me up into the squad there. Then Wally Downs, he was manager at Brentford, he gave me my debut. It's so lucky. I'm probably trying to think of Mickey Adams at Coventry as well. So yeah, I was very lucky there. And then Brian McDermott at Reading, Brendan Rodgers as well. So yeah, I was lucky I played under a lot of good managers.
It's like a roll call of amazing ex-footballers and like brilliant managers.
The list of managers I got the sack.
Yeah. Before, I know Eugene wants to ask you about a particular story, but
yes.
You're described as like diminutive, which is another word for people saying, "Oh, he might be too short to play." And you were obviously released, I think, from Palace, weren't you, at 16? What was the, but obviously you then went on to completely disprove that through, I guess, a mixture of grit, determination, and hard work. Did you feel that you had to prove doubters wrong in terms of, height isn't everything, and as a kind of midfielder, it's that. I mean, Gareth Batty wasn't a particularly tall bloke, but he was hard as nails and what have you. But did you feel like you had to add something extra to your game to kind of prove those doubters wrong, or was it just that magic left foot?
Yeah. I always think that when people say you're too small, it's just an excuse to say you're not good enough, really, because there's plenty of players out there who are small and make it. Like two of my favourite players growing up were Dennis Wise and Gianfranco Zola, and they're both very small as well. You look at one of the best players in the world, Lionel Messi, like Maradona, like so many small players out there. So I think it is an easy option just to say you're too small when you're not going to make it physically. But yeah, I suppose sometimes it works in your advantage. Like people don't expect you, if you're short, expect you to be good in the air, but that was probably something I was actually quite good at. I had quite a good leap on me in one of my fair share headers. So, but no, I wouldn't say I kind of felt I had to do more because I was shorter than everyone else. I just always get stuck in. It was always the way I used to play anyway.
I can't imagine you being angry for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe it's like...
I've been in my temper a few times.
Good lad.
Yeah, especially I got sent off as a sub in the tunnel at Wembley. Actually, one of the guys at work was asking me about that today. So you can get it on YouTube. You can see it. And I used to watch it calm, but we were 3-0 down in the playoff final. I think the ref had given them 2 penalties, and he was just having a shocker. And I had to pop at him in the tunnel at half time, and he warned me not to do it again. So obviously I did, and got sent off.
Brilliant, love it.
I I'm so glad you've mentioned that, because that was going to be one of the 5 questions later.
Thanks,
That was the one I dived off on, because I thought he's definitely going to remember his one red card having not been on the pitch. So I thought,
Obviously, you have been played throughout the leagues. Brentford was one of the clubs that you played for, which is quite close to my home cricket club, which is Twickenham. We've got a close affiliation with a number of people that currently work at Brentford. They mentioned to me on a WhatsApp group last night that you were away at a game when, I forget the name of the club off the top of my head, and you actually jumped into the crowd. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what the story was behind that?
Yeah, I do. I remember that game well. It was, we were playing Wickham away, and it was actually Tony Adams' first ever game as manager of Wickham. And a group of Brentford fans, I think must have been raising money for charity. They decided to walk from Brentford to Wickham to the game. So I don't know, they must have left the morning before, I'd imagine, or something like that. I'm not too sure how long it'd take. But yeah, we played away, and I was sub actually, and I came on for the last 10 minutes, I think it was. And yeah, scored the winner literally the last kick of the game, header at the back post, and scored the winner. So, and it's right in front of the Brentford fans, and they just erupted and went mad. And yes, I just did what was natural, jumped into the crowd. I mean, you're not allowed to do it. You get in a lot of trouble for it because it is obviously dangerous. So, but your emotions take over, because you can imagine if there's a family sitting in the front row and you jump in and all the rest of them behind them pile down, it's quite dangerous. So probably not something to do. But yeah, you kind of emotions take over really, and I jumped in. So I wouldn't mind seeing it again. I don't know if it's out there anywhere, but it was quite fun.
The buzz of scoring. At any kind of professional in front of fans, and we'll come on to fans and more in the horse racing bit later on. But what can you even begin to describe what that last kick of the game or last header of the game to win your side a game, whether it's just a normal league fixture or whatever? The absolute surge of adrenaline that must go through your body at that point. It must be like an out-of-body experience, right?
Yeah, because you never know when it's going to happen. Because you're not expecting it. It's different, I suppose, if you're a striker who scores 30 a season, you kind of know you're going to get a good chance to score every game. But I think the most I scored in a season might have been 12 when I was playing for Brentford, and then it gradually went down as I got older. And then, but yeah, you never know when it's going to happen, really. So it's some buzz, and when it does, and the first thing you hear is that roar, and it just takes over for a bit. I imagine it's probably similar to cricket, like if you hit a boundary for your 50 or for your 100, like it's just that kind of that buzz. But then I suppose you kind of know that's coming, don't you?
I've only ever done that in front of three men and a dog, mate. To be honest, it's slightly different at the level we play. That's at the level you played football.
Yeah, no, it is. It's some buzz, and even now, every now and then, I go back on YouTube and have a look at a few goals I scored when I was playing, just to make myself feel good, really. But yeah, it is some buzz, I must admit.
I love the reaction of stewards when someone does get close to the crowd. I think that for me is one of the highlights of, because stewards can be anything from 120 years old that have been doing it for God knows how long to like a 17-year-old lad, and just the difference in reactions when someone goes in. You always get one that feels like he's a bouncer that wants to drag and suplex the player out the crowd or something.
Yeah, it's pretty dangerous for them as well.
Yeah, most of them are just fans that want a free ticket, aren't they? On stewards, just happen to know that 132F is over there. You left the game on your own terms, which is obviously quite a good thing to say you did, and that kind of thing. Was that a decision that came to you over time, or is it something you just knew that you're like, right, I've had enough?
Yeah, pretty much that's what it was. I was 32. I was kind of thinking about it during the season. I was like, oh, do you know what? I'm just not enjoying this anymore. I think you always enjoy match days, but I just wasn't enjoying going to training every day. I wasn't playing really either, so I was travelling around. And I think when you kind of get to the stage where you're like, oh, I just don't want to do this anymore, it's probably, I just thought, life's too short, there's other stuff I want to go and do as well. So I was playing in the Championship, playing for Ipswich at the time as well. And I think one of my last games was playing in the League Cup away at Man United as well, Old Trafford. So I was like, you know what, it's not a bad place to call it a day. That was my last game was at Old Trafford. So and I just thought, life is too short. I want to go and do something else. Got other interests I want to do, and I don't want to be kind of regretting carrying on and finishing on a sour note. Really, I wanted to go out feeling good about it, and that's kind of what I did.
With the with that, it's always interested me, like professional footballers, and obviously the media play a big part in this, but they say that there are footballers who are happy to sit on a bench, just earn their money and just keep a seat warm and whatever. But I mean, as a professional footballer yourself, is that ever a mentality, or does every professional footballer want to play every minute that they possibly can?
No, it's definitely a mentality. I'd be lying if I said I didn't do that as well. My last season, I was just happily turn up, sit there. Like Mick McCarthy actually came up to me and said, "Look, you can go out on loan if you want." And I think there was a few months left of the season, and I just had enough of actually playing football all the time. I was like, I've got no interest in going out on loan. So I was actually quite happy that even though I weren't playing, I was living in a nice place in Suffolk. I was a member at the Ipswich Golf Club, which you probably know, John, if you played it. Yeah. So I was kind of, it sounds bad, but I was getting paid to go training and then go and play golf. And then,
no wonder you're so good.
I don't know.
It doesn't sound bad. It sounds ideal to me.
No, I'm happy just to stay. It sounds bad because like the fans are paying him wages at the end of the day, and but yeah, I was just happy to sit there and get my wage. But I think that's just something you kind of get into a rut like that, because whenever you do play, then you get that buzz back and that hunger again. But I think if you're not playing, you just sit there and you're like, oh, there's not much I can do about it, so I might as well just enjoy it. And I always tried hard in training and stuff like that. But yeah, my last year I was just going along for the ride really, and that's what made me think that I don't want to be doing that again.
I think it's amazing that level of honesty. And to be quite honest, I don't think that, it'd be very unusual for fans to have heard someone who's played at that level to actually come out and openly say, well, I did coast a little bit towards the end.
There'd be times where you'd be sub and there'd be 20 minutes to go, and like the manager say, "Oh, right, go and warm up." I'll be like, "Oh, really?" Like,
really warm here.
Terrible to me, really. I'd say there'd be a lot of players in a minute as well, and you'd be like quite happy because obviously you've got 7 subs, only 3 can come on. So like, even if sometimes you be named sub and you look around the bench and go, "Well, I'm not getting on today," so watch the game. Bad way to be. But yeah, but then it's saying that, like, 100% say as well. Whenever I did play, I never had that mentality when I actually got on the pitch. As soon as you come on, you switch on then and you get in. There are times when you're sitting there and thinking, yeah, I'm happy just to sit here today and get on the coach and go home, get paid the same amount of money.
Yeah, that was going to be my kind of question. Do you think I used to play professional cricket, and one of my mates came up to me after I'd been in the job. I signed my first contract. I was about 3 months in, and someone asked me, "Has it become a job yet?" And I didn't really get what he meant. But then, like, you do get to a point where it's a way of earning money. It's a way of getting what you want to out of it. Do you think that kind of leads to that, where it's just like, "Oh, I'm getting paid. Like, I'll do what they want as long as I'm getting paid."
Much, yeah, you do think that, and I think especially if you're actually trying hard and you do try hard in training and you still don't play, then you kind of do think yourself, well, almost like sod you, then I can't do any more. Like, you can't pick yourself at the end of the day. Manager has to pick the team, and I've never had any qualms about not playing really. I always think if the manager, let's say the managers I listed off there, I always think they generally did pick the team they thought was best, and if I wasn't in that 11, then that's just because that's the way they were thinking at the time. So yeah, you just have to respect their decision. But as you said there, it does become, it is a job at the end of the day. You get paid for it, and you're just very lucky to be playing sport as a job.
Did you? So at any point, did you start to resent it? Like, at what point for you did it? Because obviously you grew up as a, at school, being the best footballer at school and whatever. But I'm sure by some distance, because very few people make it to the level you did. But at what point did you actually? Because there must have been a day where you like, actually, I love this, but this is now my job, and I have a responsibility to kind of do well, the same as Simon went through. But at what point did you start to resent the game?
Yeah, probably the last couple of years, I'd say, really. Just because I wasn't enjoying actually playing, if you know what I mean. Like, when you, like, if I go and play cricket now or golf now, you wake up, you're buzzing to play, you really want to enjoy it. But I wasn't actually, I wasn't enjoying actually playing football. Like, even now, I would not want to go and play football. I don't know something about it, because when I was a kid, I loved it. Like, it was the best sport in the world. Used to stay up as late as I could to try and watch a match of the day. Even when I was in the youth team and when I was in my early 20s, like, just football obsessed. And then just got older, I think he just kind of fell out of love with it, really. He's done it for too long and needed a change. But as I say, even if I wasn't enjoying playing, you have to respect the fans. The fans are there and they love it. So I'd always give my all. I never 100% say I never sacked it off on the pitch and gave up on the pitch. Like, I might not have been enjoying myself out there, but I always tried hard. So
fair play. Yeah. Talking of that change, it brings us very nicely onto your current career.
Yeah.
So from football, to cleaning horses' feet and mucking out of stables is probably something that, it's obviously a hell of a change in career path and something that, I don't know whether it's ever been done before. You might be kind of paving the way for footballers for many years who've got an interest in it. But the story goes that you had a teammate who originally kind of put the horse racing on after training, and that's what kind of bit you, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I signed for Coventry, and like a few days after signing for me, we went on a pre-season tour, and I was just get paired up with a roommate, and I was with a lad who was a few years younger than me called Ben Turner. And I didn't realise he was younger because he was about 6'4" and built like a Spartan warrior. He was massive. And I found out I think I was 22 and he was only 18, 19 at the time. Anyway, yeah, we like clicked straight away, got on really well. And then one day we were just sitting there after training, and he said, "Oh, do you mind if I put horse racing on?" I was like, "Yeah, mate, go for it." Yeah. And then so I was watching it in the room with him, and he started explaining it to me, and yeah, got hooked pretty much straight away. And then like one of my best mates liked horse racing as well, so kind of went from not watching it to almost watching it every day and getting really into it.
What is the difference, if you can talk about from a professional career from football, where you're training every day and you're making sure that mentally, physically you're an elite athlete, to now the job that you currently do? How different is it? Is it the same sort of process that you go through, or is it completely different?
Yeah, I'd say a lot of professional sports are very similar, and you have to be your time is dedicated to that job, and yeah, you could say you can't just take holiday when you want. You have to be there for the team really, and you're looking after the horses. And I'll say even at the moment the racing's still going ahead, so we're pretty much working as normal really, even though there's no crowds at the racing. There's still the same races going ahead, so the horses need to be fit and looked after. So yeah, it's very similar in the fact that you're trying to get a professional, well, say in other sport, professional athlete, and now then you're getting an animal ready to be at its peak form to go and perform. So yeah, it's very similar in ways like that, and it's time consuming. A lot more so than football, but it's more kind of around the weekends, and when the sport's at its highest level, that's when you have to be kind of on the game, and it's more so for the jockeys really. But yeah, I mean, as stable staff, we work very long hours and work really hard.
So you're talking about hours and stuff. I mean, what is actually involved? What is your day-to-day? Can you give us an insight as to what you do on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, so I try and get there for about 6ish. To get in for 6, and then I've got 4 horses that I look after myself. So I go in, muck them out, give them new beds straight away, like clean their waters and stuff like that. And then you have to make sure they've got hay outside the stable ready for later on in the day. Then you go and we have a board in our tack room, so you go and look at the horses you're riding. And most days it's the same horses you're riding as well, so you kind of know what you're doing. Get your tack ready, go and tack the horse up, and then if you're lucky enough, you can have like a quick coffee for 10 minutes, and then we pull out and go and do first lot is at 20 to 8. And then from then on, it's just, you ride usually 4 or 5 horses a day, stop for breakfast at 10 for just half hour, quick cup of tea or something like that. Finish the morning at about 1 o'clock, make sure the yard's swept and tidy, have a couple of hours off, come back in at 3, and then just brush the horses off, tidy their beds up again, feed them, make sure they're okay, and we leave at 5. So yes, it's a long day, and obviously the only time you can when you're on the horse. So
I know that one of your big things is that like making weight, so that I mean, just so everybody who's listening to this has got an awareness of it. Like, even as a stable hand, or like, you have to make weight in order to be able to ride the horses, because these guys are like the Usain Bolts of the horse riding, the horse racing world, right? So they're not just going to. I mean, there is no way myself, Simon, or Eugene would be allowed anywhere near one of these things. But it's a hugely important thing, right, for you to stay fit.
Yeah, it is. It's more so when I went to the racing school to train to be a stable lad. They had a weight limit of 11 stone, which is like ready to ride. Bear in mind, when I was playing football, I was probably about 12 and a half. And then when I finished playing, it went up a little bit. Obviously, I was probably near 13. So I did. But when I decided I wanted to go to the racing college, I had to lose 2 stone in about 3 or 4 months to make sure I could go on the course. Now we don't get weighed now because it's different at jump yards. I think if you work for a flat yard like Aidan O'Brien or something like that, then they do weigh you, make sure you're the right weight. But here, where I am, lucky enough, they don't weigh us. I think I'm about 12 stone now, so I'll be the heaviest lad there by quite a way. It's all
positively massive, Jay. Positively massive.
I mean, when you're working with, like, say, there's a lot of jockeys and it's mainly a younger guy's job as well. So a lot of the lads are between, and the girls who work there as well, they're all between 16 and mid 20s really. So they're all a lot lighter. But I'm working with, and I live with a jockey as well. So I see the kind of pressures they go through to make the weight. and it does make you appreciate the kind of how hard it is for them. But yeah, I do actually still have to watch my weight because I love my food and drink, and if I didn't, then it'd be too heavy to ride.
You mentioned there about how the racing's still on and stuff during COVID and whatnot. Has it limited like contact with the horses, and have you had to change the way that you train them, and how's all that worked?
I did at the start, obviously, when this all first happened. It was not lucky, but it was towards the end of the jump season, so we kind of just like wrote it off, and then the horses went out for their kind of summer holidays really just a bit earlier, and then there's a few of us stayed in to keep training the summer horses. So yeah, we were kind of obviously had to do social distance and that. It's a bit more different. It's a bit different now because it's hard when you've got that many people working at a yard. You are going to be bumping each other all the time, but obviously we do try and be careful. But yeah, day-to-day running, it hasn't changed much, but it's just if you go racing, obviously all the checks you have to do when you get there as well, temperature taken and stuff like that, and you have to stay out of the way of all the other yards that are there as well as best you can. But yeah, there's no crowds then. To be fair, I've said to our boss is quite good, and I've said I don't really want to go racing if there's no crowd there, because it sounds bad, but there's no buzz. So like last year, I was lucky enough. I led a horse up at the Cheltenham Festival. I had another horse I took to the Betfair Hurdle, and it's just such a buzz there, the crowds. And to do it this season, I've been racing once this year, and it's just so weird. It's almost like a pre-season friendly in any other sport. There's no one there, so it's quite hard. But I suppose it's keeping the sport going, which is in a way, but in another way, it is quite hard to see.
I was going to ask you about the crowds and the difference that makes. I imagine, funnily enough, I was watching, I think, Cheltenham, and I think I texted you as you were like walking this horse around the parade ring, and just not expecting you to pick your phone out of your pocket and like text me back while you were on TV. But I mean, these having been to, I quite enjoy a day at the races, but they're obviously such vast environments. Obviously you've got the grandstand and what have you, but it's such a big open space that with no one there other than horses, jockeys, trainers and the people who are actually running the race course itself, it must be quite an eerie place to be, because the designed to have thousands of people there.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I've spoke to a couple of lads here, the jockeys, and they said when they go racing it's weird, especially they said it's not so much at your kind of midweek meetings at the smaller tracks, but obviously Cheltenham's been on a couple of times this year, and they just said it's so weird there because say like the festival is such an amazing place to be, and I've been there as a fan, and lucky enough I've been there now leading the horse up. And say last year I took Oakley there, and it was just the best day ever, because you do feel proud leading your horse around, because there's loads of people looking in and talking about your horse and stuff like that, and you do feel proud to lead a horse up. And I just think at the moment it's probably, you say that buzz isn't there anymore, which is a real shame.
You owe me a few quid for that, actually, because I backed him because you were walking him around the ring, and
I think he ran all right. He came like halfway. He's nice. He runs well. Every time he runs, he does run well. He's always there.
He was in a good spot, actually. I remember coming on late. He was in a good spot. But
them big handicaps at Cheltenham, you need so much luck. You could run that race 10 times and have 10 different winners. You just need to be in the right place at the right time, and it needs to be your day. But yeah, I'll say it was such a buzz to lead up there, because I've been to the festival loads of times as a fan, and you go down to the parade ring, you watch the horses walk around, and you do think, oh cool, that'd be cool to do that, and I'm lucky enough to get a chance to do it myself.
It is a special place to go. I've been to the Gold Cup there a few times. There's a lad that normally runs a bus trip from our neck of the woods, and R5 we're all on the bus and we're in Cheltenham by 8 o'clock, and it's just absolute mayhem. Absolutely, it's brilliant day. What did football teach you that you've taken into horse racing?
I'd say professionalism, really. I think if you're doing a sport at that kind of high level, like obviously it's different because we're not riding horses in races. You're just working with them and looking after them and helping to train them. But yeah, you do have to be professional and attention to detail as well, and you have to put everything into it. I think because it is a hard job that you get in, and I mean because we don't all have to be at the same time. You get paid from a certain time in the morning, but some of us quicker than others are getting things done, and I'm one of the slow ones, a bit older, and I'm not fast on my feet as the others. So I do get in a bit earlier just to make sure I'm ready on time. And yeah, you just have to care as well. And I think football it teaches you discipline, and you know yourself if you don't prepare right, then you don't really perform.
Yeah.
I think it's probably the same in all sports really.
moving on to kind of more your personal life now. The first time we ever met was at Wimbledon Cricket Club years and years ago, and I don't think we talked about this off air earlier. That I don't think either of us realised. I know we had a chat and a beer after the game, but I remember our side batting. I was probably out early doors. I remember watching from the sidelines, going, "Who the fuck's this kid? He's moving quick. He's moving quicker than I've ever seen anybody move in my life." Because like those would absolutely smoke it to the boundary, think it was a certain four, and then all of a sudden they end up trotting one because the Premier League footballer is moving like he's got a flame coming out of his backside, like terrorsing around the pitch. I mean, you love cricket, right? Yeah. But you love fielding.
Yeah, well, it's true. Yeah, I mean. That was one of my lads I went to school with. His dad and his family came out. They had a roaming side on Sunday, so just a bit of fun, really. All different levels of cricketers playing. It was all good fun. So you turn up on Sunday and say we're playing against Wimbledon. You could have first team players playing, and you could have players just there for a bit of fun on the Sunday as well. So it's just something different. And in the off season, keep me kind of a little bit fit and something to do on the weekends. I also just get bored, and I say I do love cricket, but I say one of the rules is so I'm not great at batting or bowling. So they say, right, you got to earn your keep in the field. I just have to run around and try and make an impression. But,
I did that.
I love my cricket. I still play a bit now. Like our assistant trainer, he's got a cricket team down here, and we play on Thursday evenings after work. We start at 6. Just a 2020 match with like one of the local villages, a few beers on the side, have a bit of a laugh, and then whoever you're playing, you go to their local pub and have a few beers and something to eat afterwards as well. And it's really nice. It's so good, and you can imagine down here in Somerset, there's some lovely grounds we go to as well. And,
beautiful.
It's really cool. But our first game I played from was so embarrassed. We don't even warm up properly, so I come on to bowl, and I'm not joking you, I was pitching everything on my toes. It was just terrible. John Arnold, it was horrendous. I was like, what am I doing? And then luckily enough, I was like, what do I do? Luckily enough, I came back the next week and I just tried bowling a bit of spin, and at least I was actually pitching it properly then. They were terrible. I felt a bit embarrassed actually, but luckily I took a really good catch that game, so they invited me back the next week.
Good lad.
Yeah. Every side needs a few fielders knocking about, especially fun cricket, because a lot of people will rock up and not want to be that bothered, and then you'll be looking around going, right, who can run around here? Off you go. Obviously, you just spoke about cricket, and you're quite a good golfer, aren't you? Playoff 3, apparently.
No,
he should. I loaded that question on purpose. He should play off 3.
I'm all right. Like everyone, you have your good days and bad days, and that's just the most frustrating sport in the world. You can like shoot 4 or 5 over one day and then go and shoot 20 over the next. Just right here. I've come off the golf course crying before in our club champs. Like, where did it all go wrong? But I do love golf, and there's a nice course down here. That's just one of the things down here. There's not loads of courses around. Like where I'm from, everywhere you look at the courses, but here there's not too many. The golf club down there in Minehead's actually really nice. It's a links course, so I've played that a few times. Good fun. But yeah, it's like everyone. I haven't played any golf for ages now, so I'm desperate for a game.
Yeah, tell me about it. You're also into rugby, aren't you? You play at Old Wimbledonians with, is it your cousins that?
It's my old school. So I went to Wimbledon College, and Old Wimbledonians is like the old kind of old boys for our school, really. So know a few lads down there. So as soon as I always said, I used to go and watch them if I didn't have a game of football on Saturday. Or if I didn't travel with the team, which is quite often towards the end, I'd always go and watch the lads. And we used to have a few drinks afterwards in the bar, and they always said, as soon as you finish pack the football, then you've got to come and play rugby for a season. So I was like, yeah, I'll do that. My brother plays down there, my 2 cousins and a few old schoolmates as well, old school teachers all down there, so it's good fun. First game I played, I ruptured my knee ligaments, was out for like half a year, so and done my shoulder. But I love it. I had one really good season there when we all played together all the time. It was class.
Great kicker. I used to get obviously I was down there playing cricket, and I got to know Jay, and obviously I've got to give the boys a shout out. So Jay's brother Harry, cousins Jack and Stevie Duggan, and it was like a real family thing. And Dave Doran, who's obviously one of the old teachers down there, and it was just an amazing place to be. But I mean, that magic left foot people talk about from your footballing days didn't leave you on the rugby pitch, mate. I've seen you kick Ois.
Yeah, I did all right. I could knock it over. It's not the best technique, but I got the job done. Harry's the kicker. He's my younger brother. He could have, with a bit of luck, he could have maybe got to the top level. He's just a bit lucky. He played for Wimbledon, which is played national one. I think they played, so that's pretty good level. It was just great fun down at Old Wimbledon. I remember when we played that cup game, Jono, and we went on the bus to Southampton
with Lisa.
Yeah, and it was absolutely hammering it down. It should have been called off. Really, it was waterlogged, and we managed to win, and we had a quite good sing-song on the bus on the way back. It's good fun.
I can't remember the bus journey back. Lisa stayed inside with a couple of the girls. I went and stood outside like a drowned rat, just watching supporting the boys.
Yeah, you did.
But it was hell of a day. Hell of a day.
That's the good thing about the club. There, you got like the cricket boys come and support the rugby boys, and then vice versa. In the summer, we come and sit on the patio there, a few beers, and give you a load of abuse.
Sounds about right.
You talk about your injuries that you had through your rugby career, and obviously some through football. I mean, does that limit the sport that you can play now in your current job? I mean, you got to think about your security, and I suppose if you injure yourself and you rupture, a knee or break a shoulder or something like that, is that going to limit what you can do work-wise, or what's your sort of thought process around that?
The job. To be fair, the job is actually dangerous enough on its own without going and playing rugby on a Saturday. I mean, I was kind of half thinking about playing for the local rugby team down here, but my shoulder's just in bits, to be honest with you, so I wouldn't have been able to do that. But it would limit you, because if you turn up, you go and play rugby on a Saturday, and you turn up and you can't jump on horse on Monday, then that's what you're paid to do, really. So it's a dangerous enough job, this as well. So you're on an animal at the end of the day, going 30 mile an hour. If he decides to do something different, I've come off pretty hard once, and it does hurt. So.
I was going to say, what sort of injuries do you get from falling off a horse? I can imagine it's everything. What most of the jockeys in races now, I think it's a lot of collarbones. That's what they do. But just the day to day, what we do here, like if you kind of fall off and you land, you just get a bit bruised up. Really, nothing too bad. But I was on one horse one day. He was coming around the bend on our gallop, and he literally just veered off and ran straight through a wooden railings. Like, I've looked at it since, and I think, how has he run through that? I mean, I can't believe a horse would actually run through and knock it all over, and I come flying off, and lucky enough, you have to wear a lot of protection, so I was all right. A little bit bruised, but it's a bit weird, really, thinking it like that.
I mean, these things are strong, though. I mean, these are strong as an ox, these animals, aren't they? They're, absolute machines.
Yeah, and I'd say if one of them kicks you in a stable, you know about it as well.
You have to wear helmets, I imagine, while you're mucking them out and you're in there with them and stuff, right?
I don't know if we have to do.
Right.
Riding out with the helmet and back protectors and that, but when we're mucking them out, no. Most, say 99% of the horses here are all lovely horses and really sweet and that. But when you're riding out, all it takes is a bit of an accident, and you can come off pretty hard. And I've seen it. Like most of us have all come off at some stage or another, and it's not nice to watch because it can be quite bad.
When you, I know we just touched on family and stuff, and we your brother Harry and the Duggans. You lost your mum a few years back.
Yeah.
And she'd obviously seen a lot of your football career and stuff. I'm not sure how much of your current career, if any, that she saw, but I know that. I mean, she would be incredibly proud of you, Irish blood and all that, and massive horse racing love and heritage. How did you deal with that mentally? I mean, it must have been incredibly tough situation to go through for anybody.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, especially it wasn't really expected either as well. She got ill and passed away within 2 months, so I never expecting it. It was in the same year that she packed in football as well, and I'd kind of made my mind up, and I spoke to her about it. And she was just like, look, just do what makes you happy. And then as soon as she passed away, I was like, do you know what? Life's too short. That could happen to me tomorrow. And if I'm not doing what I'm enjoying what I'm doing, and do something else. And it's hard to take. But she was 56, and in a way, you're lucky that you got that time with her. Some people lose their parents when they're a lot younger and don't get to experience a lot of their life with them. And I'm lucky that my mum saw pretty much my whole football career. She was ill for the last couple of months, so she didn't see that. But and she was great, and she used to take me training all the time. She'd always, like if I was playing for Ipswich, she'd come down with my auntie, stay for the weekend, come to the matches, and then go out for dinner and stuff like that after. So she got to see all of that, which is great. And so in that sense, you're lucky that you got to spend that much time with your mum. So I was 32 when she passed, but there's people out there who lose their parents when they're still really young, or so you've always got to sounds bad, but you've always got to kind of look on the bright side. There's nothing you can do about it now. You can't. No point sitting around moping all the time. So you just got to try and use it as a positive. And one thing, if ever I'm having a bad day or feeling sorry for yourself, I just think of my mum and think, oh, do you know what? It's not that bad. It doesn't matter that much. Whatever problems you experience in that day, you just think, oh, at least I'm still here, you know. So like she used to always, she was into the countryside as well. She moved just before she passed away. She actually moved out to the countryside. So
that's a Gloucestershire way, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, moved down there. So and it wasn't far from Chepstow Racecourse. I remember I went to visit him once, and racing was on at Chepstow, so I went to watch that as well. But yeah, she'd love to see what I'm doing now. She's probably a bit scared when she hears the stories about falling off and that. She was bad enough if someone tackled me too hard playing football. She wouldn't do anything like that. So,
yeah. I was reading there was an article that I read earlier about you in the Guardian. For some reason I'd never seen it before, but there was a really nice quote from you in it. It was like, if someone kind of piled through you in a football game, you're like, don't do that to my baby or whatever. It's just a really nice anecdote. Like.
Very, very. Say as you get older, you kind of you just think you can do it all on your own, but you always need your mum around as well. So obviously I miss her every day and think of that all the time. But it's part of life. It happens to us all, unfortunately. So that's probably a little bit deep, but it does, and that's what made me think you just got to kind of enjoy life as much as you can.
And your dad's your old man's an absolute boy. He's an absolute trooper. Still rocking out on Boxing Day for the OWs against Old Ruts rugby game and stuff. He's an absolute champion.
I wouldn't want to mess with him either. I wouldn't want to tackle him.
Christ almighty, neither would I. I'll tell you that, my friend. Just before we kind of finish up, what as your mate, I'm proud to see the complete change of career and the commitment that you've put into it and the time and effort you've put into it. What are your ultimate hopes? I already know the answer to this question, but in terms of what do you really, really want to achieve? What would be your, absolute top goal out of horse racing if you could get there?
Pretty much, just to kind of do what I'm doing now. I'm really enjoying it. Yeah, I mean, if I could ride in a charity race one day, that'd be great. But yeah, I just enjoy getting on a horse every day. I feel very lucky to do it. Even obviously, I'm not going to lie. When that alarm goes off at 5 o'clock, first 5 minutes, I'm like, what am I doing? Especially when you look outside and the rain's bashing against the window, and you think, I'll go and sit on a horse and get drenched now. But no, I do. I generally love it. Like I love riding horses, so I'll always want to be doing that. And that's a good thing. Like once you get to a kind of certain level, you can ride out loads of different places. So I would like to travel around a bit, maybe in a few years' time, and travel the world and see what it's like to ride out some other places. Like a couple of lads who work here, they used to work in Australia, riding out there and stuff like that. And they said it's an amazing experience. So maybe once I've kind of improved my riding a bit, I'd like to go out there and experience that, see what it's like. But yeah, just always to be involved with horses because I love them. I love the animals and love working with them, and feel very lucky to be able to ride them.
The Australians don't do it properly though, because it's like you have to stand in a cart and whip them, don't you? Over there, it's like they don't.
That's the trot.
I don't know.
They can't
Australians don't do anything properly in my book. Apart from cheat at cricket, they're good at that.
I found something I love doing, and I want to carry on doing it for as long as I'm enjoying it, really. So, and say, like the stable lads and lasses, we're lucky enough we get to ride the horses every day without the pressure of having to ride them in races. So,
perfect. Right.
Yeah, I've lived with like one of the lads, the jockeys here now for nearly 2 years, and seeing the things he has to go through to, just the travelling. Like you have to be up, ride horses out in our yard, then travel, halfway across the country for maybe just one ride. And he could be carrying 10 stone 12 one day, and then he'd have to a lightweight the next day, and you just see him having to sweat in the bath and to do the weight and that. Like the other day, I felt so bad. He was doing lightweight, so I knew he was going to be sweating that night. So he'd have to run a hot bath, sweat, go for a run, and I was desperate for a Mackies. I was like, I've got to have a Mackies tonight. So I've gone and got a McDonald's, but I've come back and I knew he was sweating. I thought, I can't bring this in the house. He can't eat tonight, so I had to eat the Mackies in my car.
So hold on. So I'm really interested by this. So when you say he might have to be at one weight one day, and then this industry is that cutthroat that he might have to lose £4 or whatever it is overnight. Yeah,
well, obviously, like if he's got a heavy weight, then they carry lead in their saddles. But so obviously, most of them have a weight that they're kind of what they stick at most of the time. But say he had to lose a few pounds for a race tomorrow, and then get home from the races today, go running, then come and sit in the bath and sweat and not eat very much as well, and that's just what it is, and it's not just him. That's most jockeys out there, I think.
It's professional sport, I guess, isn't it? It's you give everything you have to.
Yeah, it's hard work, and they say like you might be doing that for a horse like without sounding too bad, it probably hasn't got much chance the next day as well. But you got to do it because that's your job. You got to go and ride that horse. Yes, it's hard. But then the days when they have a big winner, like when he's come back and he's had a big winner or had a good day, like he rode a treble this season, which was amazing. And
wow.
Then the kind of those days are all worth it for him then. But most of the time it's really hard work, and the travelling, like the driving, the miles they get through as well. It's crazy. It's insane. So they say the Sable lads and lasses, we're lucky we get to ride the horses every day without that pressure of having to ride them in the races.
Jay, look, I've chatted to you lots and lots over the years, and you've taught me a huge amount tonight of stuff that we've never covered. So thank you so much. Thank you for opening up a little bit about your mum. That's exactly why we do this, is so people can help each other and learn through shared experience and whatever. Brilliant to hear the football anecdotes as well as now what you're doing with the horse riding stuff. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. Thank you.
Thanks
you so much.
I've enjoyed it. It's nice to talk and look back over it and remember the good times as well.
We now need to try and take some money off you.
Okay.
For our charity partners, the Lord's Taverners. You were warned about this, so this won't come as a surprise. Who I feel like I should match Jay's donation tonight. It makes
Who's
sense.
matching the donations? I'm not asking the questions.
Right, okay. Simon's put these together. Christ almighty. Simon can ask them. You can do the answers, and I'll just sit back and just figure out how much money I need to contribute.
Perfect.
Right. So, question 1.
Okay.
We get asked. I did a lot of research into this. In the first 3 pages on Google that came up with where I got all the information from. So, I'm not saying it's not 100% accurate, but the answers are what the answers are.
Apparently I've got a wife and 3 kids though, so I don't know about that.
Well, there's one question.
You can have
in
my
a
wife.
minute that I found hilarious, and I had 5 minutes laughing to myself, and I clicked on 2 different pages. But anyway, we'll talk about that in a second. So,
Okay, right. Yeah.
according to transfermarket.co.in, I don't even know where that's based, but
India.
probably. How many first-team appearances did you make in your career?
394.
Tell you what, you've sold yourself a little bit short, but 428 is the answer.
Yeah, take that.
But unfortunately, you're out of the scope of answering correctly there.
That's £2 each. Cheers, Jay.
So we've already spoken about your 1 red card, whilst not being on the pitch.
Yeah.
How many yellers did you get?
Jesus, quite a lot, I'd imagine. Wow. 45?
Oh,
That is close.
It's close.
I think that one comes within the boundary. 52. So really, really close. Yeah, we'll give that one to you. Actually, yeah, we'll give you that one.
Get in, Jay. Well done, Tabby.
yeah. There's quite an interesting thing when you look at your goals and assists on there. Certainly on transfermarket.co.ni. Anyway,
I am.
but in your professional career, how many? So Eugene's changing the question on me at the minute, which is really irritating. How many goals and combined goals and assists did you have in your professional career?
All right, I'm going to say I've got about 36 goals and...
He's on transfermarket.co.in right now.
I'll combine 88.
Oh, nearly.
Nearly 77. So you almost got the number, but 38 goals and 39 assists. So unfortunately, that one is outside of the scope. So another £2 for you and Jono. Thank you very much. Appreciated from the Lord's Taverners.
The next one sums up what the internet is like when you're trying to do your research on someone. So according to Wikipedia, you are 5'5" or 165 centimetres.
Okay.
According to an article you wrote last year, or you were involved in last year, you're 5'4". And according to transfermarket.co.ni, they're not. IN. Sorry, it's not the Northern Irish one this time. You're 170 centimetres. But how many hands is that?
I'm guessing you mean like in horse racing terms, hands, no?
Yeah. No.
Mm, 16 hands.
Yeah, it's about you as close as 16.7 if you're going on 170 centimeters, and 16.2 if you're going on 165. So yeah, we'll give you that one. So well done. 2 questions right so
Questions
far.
right.
Last question.
You've
Simon.
already
Most successful I've been.
you've already spoken about the racehorse with Ben Turner, and called Mr. Miyagi.
That's the one, yeah.
Yeah. How many races did he win?
7.
Out of how many entries?
16.
Wow.
He's absolutely nailed it. He's absolutely
You know
nailed
my
it.
priorities, right?
Oh, Jay Tabb.
Do you know, I've still got him. He lives up the road. He lives on a farm about 5 minutes away, so I go and see I feed him twice a day. Go and see him, and I was riding him for a bit of fun for a while, but obviously he went rubbish now.
Wow.
So but yeah, he's just up the road. When he retired, I decided to keep hold of him. So yeah, he keeps me busy as well.
I mean, he was obviously quite useful. He was obviously quite a useful racehorse, because I was looking on the website. I was on Racing Post.
Transfermarket.co.in.
No. I was on the Racing Post. So I went on the Racing Post, and I didn't realise that this is how little attention I pay to racehorse, because I know if I got into it, I'd be a lot of money down very quickly. But they've got like a bit on each horse, and like when they changed trainers and who owned him until when, and also. But you got a train by Aidan O'Brien was training him at the.
Oh no, Willie Mullins. He went over there. But
Willie Mullins.
Basically, he had a few issues. Like he was good, but he just had a few little issues, and he would for some reason. He was flying, going really well, and then they said he couldn't run over here. So I was just being stubborn, really. I thought I'd take him over there, and because he would have been allowed to run there. He just he'd get close to being able to run, and then just have a few little niggly issues. So we decided to call it a day. It was unfair, and he owed us nothing. They took us to the Cheltenham Festival twice. He actually won at Cheltenham twice as well. But
that was going to be one of the questions. But I thought you'd definitely know that.
Yeah, no, he won there twice. He was we were so lucky, because as far as racehorses go, he didn't cost much to buy, and we were very lucky with him, and he gave us some great time. So that's why I wanted to keep him and give him a good home and good life. I've taken him out on days out down the beach and stuff around here, and he loves it. He's a little bit of a lad, a bit fiery, so it keeps me on my toes. But yeah, like I say, I love him to bits. And me and Ben got his half brother, and we've syndicated him out. So yeah, there's like 20 lads in the syndicate, and he runs next Tuesday. He makes his debut. He's only a 4-year-old, so we'll see how he goes. He's called LaRusso, and obviously going with the Miyagi theme.
Get on that. Look at the two boys that are picking the phone up now.
He's going to always do. So he's running at Kempton next week. First race at Kempton on Tuesday. He'll just say he's never seen a racetrack in his life. He never know what to expect, but hopefully he shows a little bit of ability, and we can move on from there. But it's just a nice way to keep involved in the sport, and so there's 20 of us, so it kind of makes the cost each month a bit more manageable, so it's good fun.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell just through Simon asking that question, when he referred to it as racehorsing, that he's not that into it as a sport.
I'm not the presenter. Yeah. I'm not the presenter. I have to ask some questions at the end. That's all I do.
What's the? What generally? I think this is another interesting point as well, Jay. Like, what generally happens to these? Unless they get studied out and whatever, there's the most, the really successful horses do. What happens to these horses once they finish racing? They just get put out to pasture, allowed to, wander around a field for the rest of the days?
And that's when it depends how they retire. If they've got a really bad injury, then it's the most, nice thing to do.
Then, yeah, of course.
Put them out of their misery. But I'd say the majority of them, they get good lives outside, because a lot of the lads and lasses who look after them, they get, like at our yard, for instance, if a horse had to retire tomorrow and he was still sound, then the lad or lass who looks after him, if the owner doesn't want to keep him, they offer him to us if we want to, find a new home. Because a lot of the girls here, they've got horses that used to be in training here, and they look after them now. And just because they can't be a racehorse anymore doesn't mean they can't have a good life. They can, a lot of the girls here use them in eventing and show jumping, stuff like that, and just hacking out, or a bit of fun. A lot of them go into pointing as well. Like hunting. It's like, a lot of them do get a good life when they finish, which is good. There's enough people in racing. And the people, I know some people look at it as a cruel sport, but it really isn't. Like, the horses are looked after so well, and the people who train them and look after them always want to see them have a good home and make sure they go somewhere that's going to look after them. So yeah, they're pretty lucky about that.
Well, look, it's been amazing to talk to you. I'm so glad that you seem so passionate about it, and as you may, that's really cool for me to see you having found another passion post your first passion of football. So, thanks so much for taking the time out to speak to us. I know you've probably got to be up in about 3 hours to go and start making horses house. So yeah, quick Maccas and then bed. But Jay Tabb, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Thanks for your time, mate, and we'll go well, mate.
Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it. Cheers.
No, cheers, Jay. Really appreciate it.
Looking for a new cricket equipment partner for yourself or your club can sometimes be tricky. With so many options to choose from, how do you make the right choice? When you want quality, value and service, there really is only one place to start. For more than a decade, Woodstock Cricket have been producing award-winning, high-performance cricket bats from their Shropshire workshop. Matched with their classy soft goods, luggage and accessories, Woodstock Cricket really do tick all the boxes. Get in touch with Woodstock Cricket and find out why many loyal clubs, players and international customers can't be wrong at info@woodstockcricket.co.uk.
Welcome back. Really hope you enjoyed that interview with Jay. We certainly did, the three of us, while we were going through it. Thanks again, as always, to our sponsors, Woodstock Cricket. Please do go and check them out. The wife wants a new handbag, so all orders appreciated. In all seriousness, lads, just off the back of interviewing Jay, I mean, and I kind of said this to you before, but I think people have a preconceived idea of what a footballer will be in terms of personality or kind of highlights in their hair are a bit showy or whatever. Like, Jay's just the nicest, quietest lad. Like, the way that he was so honest with us about some tough stuff that he's had to deal with, obviously with his mum passing and what have you. But the thing that I found fascinating, and I probably didn't expect this level of honesty, was when we pushed him on. If you're on the bench, and he actually said, well, once it gets to the last 10 minutes, you're like, absolutely fucking not, Gaff. Start looking at your socks or something. But I just thought it was really refreshing, because that's not a view. It's not the kind of insight you'd often get from people, and I think we're really thankful, the three of us, aren't we, that he was so good and open about all that kind of stuff.
Well, what a weird sport. 7 substitutions, and you only got 7 subs, and you can only sub 3 of them. What's the point? I just don't understand that. Cricket, at least you have 11 players, all 11 play. Anyway, football, a different sport for me. But yeah, and again, Jay, what a lovely guy.
Yeah.
Just, definitely did not expect the interview. When you said professional footballer, I expected loud, brash, in your face. Not at all. What an absolute legend of a guy.
Simon?
Yeah, I'd echo that, really. I've never met him before. You mentioned him before, but just a really nice guy, really genuine, down to earth, like you just said, and the really interesting part for me was when he spoke about at Ipswich and he got offered the chance to go out on loan and he was done, and his honesty. I mean, he strikes me as someone that seems to be quite honest with most, or just the way he goes about things, and he was honest with Mick McCarthy, who was manager at the time, and just went, no, mate, I think I'm done. But
honest with himself as well, enough to at one point wake up and just go, do you know what? I really don't want to do this anymore. I mean, he could have just, pissed around playing at clubs that he didn't want to play at just for the sake of a decent paycheck every week. But obviously, he's had a complete change of lifestyle. Went and did, he's invested his money wisely from his footballing days, and so he's very shrewd and savvy like that. But I've written something down here. Scoring screamers to shoveling shit. There was that story about when he scored that last kick of the game at Wickham, and he jumped into the crowd, and we asked him about the adrenaline of that kind of stuff, and now he's up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and those points where he was having to run around in sweatsuits and stuff just so he could actually be 11 stone to go and ride, do the ride outs and stuff. I mean, what a completely different lifestyle, But he's obviously got such a passion for it that's all that matters.
Especially the way he got into it by, unassuming and, rooming with a mate that sort of said, okay, yeah, I'm going to watch some horse racing or racing horses, whichever way we go with it. So then, having a massive interest in it and now being in that industry, just, it's one of those things where, if he had grown up in a family that did a lot of, horse riding or anything like that, maybe that would have been interesting. But yeah, what a way to get into it. It's just one of those things where you sort of think to yourself, any of us that are out there, if you're not enjoying what you're doing, maybe there's an opportunity to go and do something else that's going to, be more of a conducive job, something that you're going to enjoy more. Maybe, start up a podcast company. Who knows?
Exactly. Do you know what? Something that's just talking about this, it just jogged my memory because obviously today's Monday. He's got a runner tomorrow, hasn't he? One of the horses that he owns is running at Kempton. Yeah. So we'll have to talk about that off air.
LaRusso, wasn't it?
LaRusso, that's it. Yeah. So I'm going to check that out and probably have a little flutter on that, I think. Look, what a diverse sporting kind of background as well and interest. Obviously, he's a brilliant golfer. He's always taken money off me, unfortunately, rather than the other way around. He's an absolute bandit. He plays off 5, but he should be on the tour. Loves his rugby, brilliant kicker. But I suffered some shoulder problems and obviously I think some knee problems from when he was playing his football. Obviously his horse racing, I think he still loves football and probably will still keep an eye on it. But just a brilliant guy. Obviously family being part Irish is very, very important to him. So I know that the Duggans and the Tom Worrell and Saoirse and that'll have listened into this. So. Hello, guys. Hello to everybody at the Old Wimbledonians as well. That must be said. But yeah, just an absolute pleasure to interview him. We've had another conversation this week where we kind of talked to this guest, this lady that we're going to get on in the future, where we actually covered off some of the stuff that we were talking to Jay about, didn't we, in terms of the sweatsuits and stuff. So not sweatsuits as it like for losing weight purposes, but this lady we're really excited to hopefully have involved in the podcast as we move forward a bit.
I mean, what I will say about when it came to Jay was just like his clarity of thought that he had on things. I thought that was he was a quiet guy, but he was confident. You could tell he had a confidence in him, and he had a clarity of thought that I think is important for you to be able to. You've got diversity across his life, and that's from speaking to some of the guys that we have, and that conversation that we also had with the lady that we're looking at getting on. I think that's something that once you obtain that clarity, it leads yourself into a far better mental situation to deal with the trials and tribulations that are thrown at you on a daily basis, and that was what was really impressive for me. Like he's just that ability to go, no, why? Because I don't want to. I want to do this, and I'm going to do it. And it is as simple as that seems. It takes a very strong mind and a very strong will to go, no, I'm going to leave professional football, playing in the Championship, earning X thousands of pounds a week in a very comfy situation, to being a stable hand or a jockey or whatever he goes on to be at the end of it. And yeah, there's a lot of money in horse racing, but it's not as comfortable a life as he would have been living there.
No. I'm aware, obviously, Eugene, we've been vaguer than vague there, haven't we? When talking about this hypothetical lady that we've been talking to. All will become clear with that as we move forward in a few weeks' time. We can't say too much about it until it's all absolutely confirmed or whatever. We have got, however, some more amazing guests that are going to be coming up in the next few weeks. So in terms of who you're going to be hearing from over the next few weeks, so we've got Lydia Greenway, who's obviously had an amazing cricket career with England. Mark Lawrenson, the ex-Liverpool footballer and BBC pundit. We're talking to some really, really cool people. But until they're confirmed, we don't want to confirm that. We're talking to the lady that we're talking to on Wednesday. Huge. Can you talk to us a little bit about her?
Yeah, Laura Bailey, lady skipper at Spencer Cricket Club.
Okay.
yeah, it's going to be. I'm looking forward to it. Having I suppose it's our first clubby when you think about it. Besides the three of us that are obviously clubbies. Yeah, it'll be nice to get a bit of diversity. Get an understanding of what it's like to grow up playing cricket in probably a minority. As well as understand the trials and tribulations of what she's been through. I don't want to give too much away on it because I sort of set the conversation we're at. But yeah, it's really interesting. So that's next week's one. So yeah, Laura's going to be on.
Brilliant. Well, look, I think for this week, another great episode, lads. Thoroughly enjoyable as always. Before we go, we must thank again our partners and sponsors, obviously the Lord's Taverners, Woodstock Cricket, but we shouldn't forget Big Smoke Brewery. Do not forget to go onto their website, and you can, by entering the code SLOGGINIT, you can get 15% off any purchases you make, which is 5% more than anywhere else. Such is the value that they see our audiences being able to bring to their corporation. God knows why, but we managed to convince them to do it. Don't forget about the Slogging It Golf Day. Info at sloggingit.co.uk. It's filling up fast. There are people, it's going miles better and miles quicker than we probably would have ever expected it to, which is really exciting for us. But don't be disappointed. Make sure you get in touch and ask us about that. And then obviously, if your club is potentially interested in hosting us as the Slogging It Cricket kind of celebrities in the Three Stooges, being me, Robbo, and Eugene 11, then all via the same email. So ta-ta for now. Thanks very much for joining us, and we shall see you anon.
See you later, guys.
See you later.